All right, how are you doing? My name is Franklin Cruz. I'm a real estate investor and real estate developer. So, we are doing a podcast today on real estate geniuses. Thank you so much for listening. Truly appreciate it. So, I specialize in consulting on development projects and I buy properties directly from sellers. That is my jam that I do 24/7. This podcast is just showcasing the lessons that I'm learning every single day that I want to showcase to you guys. And you guys are going to get today an amazing podcast. So again, I make these videos. So number one, you guys don't get scammed by somebody who is not in the business. There's a lot of people that talk about being in the business. And there's another thing of people actually being in the business. And I'm going to showcase that today. And we're going to be 100% transparent on all the properties, developments, everything I'm working on. So you guys are going to listen to that as well. So whether it's selling land or houses, real estate development, again, these videos and this podcast is created to give you real insight as we move forward. And as you move forward in your real estate journey, you're going to be, again, kind of listening to this, and hopefully you can gather some lessons, get a notebook, get a pencil, get a crayon, whatever you need, gather your notes because you're going to learn a lot. Today's episode is huge. This is a big one. This is the top 25 questions. It's actually top 50, but I'm breaking it up in two parts because I don't know how long this is going to go. And especially if you got to take your medication in 2 hours, and it's going to take some time. All right. So let's get started. So the very first one I'm going to go into is property sellers. What are the top 25 questions that I've heard? Now, after talking to and actually after having over 100 face-to-face transactions with property sellers, as you can see right here, this is what I call pre-beard Franklin and after beard, right? And now beard. And just food for thought. For a long time, I didn't even know I could grow a beard until my son brought it up. And he's like, dude, Dad, why don't you just grow a beard? And I was like, I don't even know if I can grow one. And then boom, it happened. So anyway, so all these sellers that you see, and there's a lot more, but we're going to go over what are the top 25 questions home sellers ask whenever selling their property, if it needs repair or if they just need to sell quickly. What are those questions? And I'm going to answer all of them today in this episode. So let's do this. Okay, so first, who am I, right? So my name is Franklin Cruz, military veteran. Very blessed, had a street named after me after the development that I sold to KB Homes for $1.25 million. First property was 7187 Cruise Court. They named it after my family, Cruise Court in Lakeland, Florida. You can look it up if you want. I've been on the front page of the newspaper before on several developments that I've been a part of. Very blessed for that. But now, you know me, let's get started. So first question is this: understanding your property's value and selling options. Okay. So how do I determine my home's market value if it needs repair? Great question. I'm going to answer it. So the very first thing is you need to understand, how do you establish property value? So how is that actually established? So the very first thing is, if you see right here, you've got to look at what was the year built of your property. So if it was built in 1950, the comps are going to be comparables of properties that sold in your area. It's got to be 5 years up, 5 years newer, or 5 years down. I call it 5 years up or 5 years down, right? And then it's got to be similar in square footage. And then it's got to be similar in style, similar in upgrades, meaning, is your property upgraded? Does it have brand new kitchen cabinets? Does it have brand new roof? Does it have brand new vanities, brand new flooring? Or is it a downgrade? Does it have an old roof? Does it have old kitchen cabinets? Does it need some love, right? You don't know. And then you take all of these line items, you mix it together, and then you've got to find the properties that have sold within the last 6 months. So you take all this, and then it's got to be the properties that have sold within the last 6 months. Sometimes you can go out to a year. And at the end of the day, that's the definition. And then you get a value. And then that's the definition of an appraisal, is an opinion of all of these items factored into one. And then they come up with, boom, here's your value. So now we know this is how they establish what value is and how do you create property value. Okay. All right. So hopefully this is helping you guys are getting something out of this. So the other thing is, should I fix my home before selling it or sell it as is? That's a great question. So first of all, it really depends on your goals. Do you need money right now? Do you need to wait? What is it that you need right now? Do you need to fix up the property? Look, if you can fix up the property and you have experience on fixing up a property, just remember what comes with fixing a property is a lot of work. It's not a little bit, right? So it can also be something that could be an uphill challenge. So if you've never hired a contractor, if you've never dealt with contractors, if you don't know what tools to use, if you're not handy, if you're not doing it of code, you can actually screw up your house. You could take out that kitchen cabinet or vanity and mess something up. I would rather a lot of times just sell it as is to a what I would call a true investor. That means somebody who's going to the property and evaluating it, and then you could move forward. But again, it all matters your financial goals. How quickly do you want to sell it? Also, do you have experience in rehabbing? Because if not, it could be super time consuming. Or you could sell it again to a true investor, and then you could just sell it quickly, in, out, done, right? So hopefully that answers the question. The other thing is, what's the biggest challenge that I see when selling a fixer-upper? So what are the biggest challenges? Well, let's go over that. When you're selling a fixer-upper, it's an uphill battle. Buyers often, like myself, or if I'm a cash buyer, it's different. But if you've got a fixer-upper and then you got somebody that wants to buy it, who's not an investor, that means they have to get a mortgage. They have to get financing. And if your property needs work, if it needs a new roof, if it needs new flooring, the plumbing's messed up, they can't get the mortgage. The mortgage company won't allow it because the insurance company won't allow it. It's uninsurable if it has a bad roof. So now either you're going to pay for it and you're going to fix all these things, which can up the cost dramatically, or not. Totally up to you. The traditional way is not going to work though, because it's going to take a lot of time and you got to fix it. You may have to sell it to somebody like myself, a true investor, speed up the process, in, out. You sell your property, any kind of condition, because I don't care. I've got cash, right? And I understand what's going on. Or we could do a creative deal, right? Still get you some money to move out and then work out a situation that you could still make money whenever we sell the property. Every scenario is completely different. It all matters. What do we work out that it's a win-win-win scenario all the way around, okay? So then the next one. How much will it cost me to sell my home in its current condition? All right. So whenever you're selling a property, you've got costs or closing costs, agent fees, and any kind of potential repair costs, right? That could range anywhere from, sometimes I would say that can go from, let's say, 10% of your costs. Sorry, go from here to here. That could be 10% of the total cost. So 6% commissions, 1.6% when it comes to closing costs and taxes, and then any kind of repairs. Let's say it's 10% or more. So it can cost you a chunk of revenue that you thought were going to be profit, that now you're going to sell it because you're choosing a traditional route. Or an easier and faster route is selling it to a true investor, or an investor that actually goes to the property, inspects the property, analyzes the property, and then gives you a proper, fair offer that you guys agree upon, and then you could sell it that way, because now you don't have any fees. So for us, it's net, meaning whatever we agree upon, if we agree upon, hey, you're going to walk away with X and that's it, then that's what you're walking away with, X, and that's it. Okay? All right, perfect. Let's go to the next one. So can I sell my home if it has a major issue like foundation problems, water damage, or termites, right? I thought this picture was great. So, first of all, you could sell your home in any kind of condition. It doesn't really matter. It all matters, are you being realistic with how much the property is worth? That's the question. So yes, I specialize in buying homes and land and all types and conditions. I've bought what they call brownfield pieces of land, meaning it had contamination issues. I bought foundation issues. I've bought roofing issues. I bought properties that were falling apart and falling down issues, everything. We assess it, and then what we do is we just come up with a fair, true, fast offer, like something that's fair, that works for everybody. We even show you what the comps are, what the true value is, minus all of the costs that we have into the property. So that's what's coming up as well. So if you don't want to repair the property, then that's probably your best bet. Now, if you want to risk it and you fix it, you may be above cost just because you haven't done this before. If you're super experienced, fantastic, you should do it. Probably you could save on cost. But if you don't do this for a living, my recommendation is don't go that route, because you could possibly make more money selling it to somebody like myself or somebody who's a true investor or a true developer, meaning somebody who's really in the field, than you would selling as somebody who's just making you an offer over the phone. Okay? All right, so next one. The selling process in working with investors, newbies or investors. What is the difference? What does that actually look like? Well, that's a great question. So we're going to jump right into that. So there's a difference between a newbie and then what I call a true investor. A newbie may be somebody that the rule of thumb is, look, if they are not going to the property and making this process simple for you. So the process should be simple. For us as true investors, we assess the property, we make you a true offer. We're very transparent. I show you the comps, show you everything, and we close quickly. It could be days, months. You choose the date. Whatever works for you. Everybody goes through stuff. I've had people that said, we sign a contract and they're going through a divorce and they got to get citizenship from Canada. It's a true story. It just happened to me on a property on 9th Street. So we're paying her a little bit of money now so she could finish all her paperwork and then closing everything out in 6 months from now, right? Or we have the fast ones that they need money right now. And once it clears title, once we know that you're the actual owner and you're legitimate, then we can move forward. And then also, there's no repairs or agent commissions. So you're getting the maximum amount of profit with the least amount of costs on your side. And that's huge. So again, keep the process simple. We inspect the property, and then afterwards, we give you money. I don't know how easier I can get on the deal. All right, next one. How do I know if an investor's offer is fair? That is a great question. A legitimate buyer will explain how they calculate their offer based upon repairs, comps, and the market trends. That's why a lot of times I'm bringing an actual comp report. I'm bringing the 40-page comp report, walking you through your property. What is the value? What does it look like? How much is your property? Minus the cost that I'm seeing, minus the repairs, minus certain issues. And then we're creating a win-win-win scenario. Look, bottom line, we're true investors. We have to make money too, right? And you do too. And us making income and you making income is a win-win. It allows us to have better systems. It allows us to pour out education like we're doing right now. I'm doing my best to educate sellers and true investors and true developers in a field that I have seen through the last 20 years there's not a lot of transparency here at all. So I want to bring transparency, and that's why I'm showcasing exactly how we do it. And what you should be looking for too, if you're a seller of land or home, this is what you should be looking for. Okay. So are there scams, and how should I watch out for when I'm selling to an investor? Yes, they are scammers out there, 100%. So this is what you're looking for. First of all, it's not going to be somebody with a COVID mask and glasses, okay? But it is possibly going to be somebody who's calling you on the phone. So be cautious of those investors that pressure you to sign without even visiting the property, okay? Or explaining a deal, and they're always insistent on not even evaluating the property at all. You've got to make a decision upon facts, not your pressure. You have some investors that will keep pressuring you. And now, I used to be one of those guys back in the day. I used to be that way, and then I changed and transformed because then I saw the damage it does to sellers when you're just trying to get a deal over the phone. The deal doesn't work out. You call them back, and then you're like, hey, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. And that person, what I discovered was all sellers do is they are spending the money where the minute that the property is actually signed, they spend the profits in their head, right? And this is a big deal because not only they're spending the money, they're also telling their family, they're telling their loved ones, like this is huge, right? And so when the deal goes sideways, which most do if they're over the phone, if they're strictly over the phone, what they do is they'll lock it up, then they'll inspect it, and then they'll reduce the price. And then that's just a huge letdown. And that's what gives a lot of newbie investors a horrible name for themselves. Not true investors, because that's not what we do. That's not what I teach. And if you even think about calling yourself a true investor and you're doing that, then that's kind of why I have copywriting on the word true investors. So anyway, so what we do is we teach. We actually teach. Hey, I'm teaching you, here's the comps, here's the appraisal, here's the value of your property, minus all the costs, or here's your piece of land. This is why it probably is not worth a gajillion dollars that you think it's worth, because it has wetlands and we can't build on wetlands. It's not buildable. So little things that we show transparency, and then we just work out a win-win. And that's it. That's how we do it. All right, next one. So what are the tax implications of selling a distressed property? Great question. I'm going to answer it. So taxes depend on factors like capital gains or whether the home is your primary residence or piece of land. And I personally, I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not an attorney. I've never stayed at a Holiday Inn to get one of those licenses. So I would just connect and contact a tax professional to ensure that you understand the situation. Just talk to them. You're fine. All right. So how can I sell my home if it has code violations or unpermitted work? Great question. And it sucks for you. It's like, it's horrible, but at the end of the day, it does happen. Even sometimes you didn't even know that there was permit issues or any kind of issues or violations, and now you got to make it work, right? So how do you do that? Yes, we personally, as true investors, we navigate through that. We navigate through the legal issues and work with you and the local municipalities and authorities to handle those violations and to get it done as quickly and as cost effective as possible. Sometimes there's going to be a cost, sometimes there's not, but we don't even know, and you don't even know just because you just found out about it as well. So that's how we want to move forward. So again, that's why we go more into the educational route and then discovery route, and then what is the amount? Because sometimes we can negotiate and sometimes we can't. But at the end of the day, it's got to get done. So special property situations. Can I sell a manufactured home? That is a great question. So can I sell a manufactured home? Yes, you could sell whatever you want. All right. So a manufactured home, for us, as long as you own the land, we're interested in purchasing because now you have an asset. Otherwise, it's considered personal property and not real estate if you don't own the land. Meaning, if you don't own the land and you're on a land lease, the likelihood of you selling that is very, very low. Just because what happens is with a land lease, there is, they basically have a monopoly on costs. It's like an HOA. That's why it's so depressing, HOAs, is because what they do is HOAs and mobile home parks, whoever own them, typically it's hedge funds right now, they can increase the cost to whatever they want within fair reason, anywhere from 5 to 10% a year. And they can make up anything they want to say, this is the reason why we did it. I'm so sorry, blah, blah. They're not sorry. It's just like, it is what it is, because they know they have a monopoly, period. And what are you going to do about it? Either you're going to complain about it or you're going to die, because it's 55 and over community, right? Typically manufactured homes. So there's not a lot you can do about it. So my recommendation is always make sure two things. If you can own property with no HOA, great, do that. Or if you can own it, that you own the land, do that as well. Anything else, I'm sorry, you're just going to have a hard time with it. So hopefully this is educating somebody that's thinking like, hey, I'm going to move into this land lease because it seems like a good deal. The only thing is they're raising it, that even the land lease is $1,100 a month or $1,500 a month. And guess what? There's nothing you could do about it, because then they write up a legal contract saying you don't own even that manufactured home, because that manufactured home is tied into the land. So yeah, it is what it is on that one. So here's another great question. What if my home has land and can I subdivide it and sell the property? Well, great question, because I had a property like that. This is a real property. This is at 1339 Thomas Watson Road. The owner, his name was Ralph, right? And Ralph had a piece of property, it had land, it had a home and a piece of land. They were all under one legal description. And what I did was we worked out a deal with him that we purchased the property, and during this process, we got the authority from him, hey, we're going to just subdivide the actual land and sell the land separately, and then we're going to sell the house separately. And whenever you're doing that, you've got different options. So if you see here, we could have a clean lines for a lot, or we can have clean lines up to a certain point and then a bigger lot in the back. You can create whatever type of legal description that you want. And so what you do is you work with a surveyor. You let them know, hey, this is what I want to do. This is the parcel ID number. I want to subdivide it to create 2 buildable lots. One is already built on, the other one is not. And this is what I'm looking to do. That surveyor is then going to actually rezone it. So what they're going to do is they're going to get the new legal description. Then you have to take that paperwork to the county or to whatever your local municipality is. And then you're going to actually have to, they're going to approve the subdivision of saying, hey, now you've got lot number X, just like now, this is lot number 17. And now you've got this lot over here. So now you chose one lot and now you went with it and they approved it. So it starts with the surveyor. They give you the new legal description. Then you give the paperwork to the municipalities, fill out a form, pay a little fee, and then they say it's approved in whatever kind of time frame. And now you have 2 separate lots, if that's the route you want to go. Okay. All right. So next one. And we specialize in both. So if you got a property like that, we're going to go through the zoning approvals with surveyors. Sometimes there are environmental studies that we have to do. All you have to do is say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to sell the property. It may have some land. And sometimes they say no to the lot split. So we have to work with sometimes even a civil engineer to see if that's even possible. And that's increased costs, increased fees. But if it's worth it, great. If it's not, it just won't make sense to do. All right, I own a large parcel of land, but I have no development studies done. Can I still sell it? Yes, absolutely. Look, we help landowners get the necessary surveys, zoning, and feasibility studies done. We could still work with you whether you're ready to sell or you need more information about your land. We can still work with it. So if you want to sell the property or you're like, Franklin, I want to hire you as a consultant to move forward, fantastic. That's something that we could potentially do. The biggest thing is on any piece of land, it's got to be worth my time and even your time. Sometimes land has wetlands or it's got contamination issues. There's issues that come up with land, just like a house, it may need repairs or comps aren't there or needs a new kitchen, needs a new roof. Like all these are real things that actually are happening. So you've actually got to say, look, do I have the financial means to pay for certain studies? Can I pay for what they call a topo boundary tree survey? Can I pay for a geotech? Can I pay for getting what they call an ESA report? That means an environmental site assessment report. Can I pay for phase 1, phase 2 if necessary? Can I pay for any other conceptual plans as well? These are all in large chunks of land, like a master plan, like we showcased before on Polk Parkway. That the studies alone were almost $500,000, and we don't even know if we're still selling the property to a certain party. So it's a serious investment, and you have to be prepared for that. A lot of people aren't, and they're not educated on this. So I'm doing my best to educate you through these series that you can get educated and start making really great decisions on the real estate that you owned or that you're walking on, right? So you could start getting this process. So the other thing as well, what if my land has contamination or environmental concerns? No problem at all. We've dealt with that. We've dealt with land contamination before. We can handle cleanup processes. We understand how to work with the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. We've worked with brownfield sites before, what they call Superfund sites. That just means there was a contamination and the EPA has designated that property as a Superfund site by the state or brownfield, or there's some contamination. There's certain studies that you have to get done. There's certain reports that you've got to get done. All this is 100% doable. Your biggest thing on your side is you've got to make sure, number one, are you financially prepared to pay for this if you want to go that route? Or number two is, look, there's a big risk on my side. I'm just not going to purchase the property not knowing what I could potentially do with it. So you've got to actually assist me with this. So for example, when it comes to land, how do you even establish the value of land is huge. So when you're establishing the value and you're establishing, hey, there's environmental issues or there's land issues. So first thing is we got to figure out when you're establishing a value, okay, well, what's the square footage of your lot or acreage, right? Is there roads accessible? What's the easy access to your property? Is there similar usability? Meaning, is there other properties in the area? Meaning, if we want to do a subdivision, is there other subdivisions in the area? If we want to do a business park, is there other business parks in the area? If we want to do a gas station, there's no gas stations in the area, or there's one on the other side of the highway. Like I'm working on one right now for a racetrack, right? So there's all kinds of different things. Apartment complexes, is there other apartments? But if you're doing affordable housing, how close is the nearest hospital? How close is the nearest school? How close is the nearest CVS or Walgreens back in the day, right? How close, or Eckerd's, if you remember that. So how close are these certain things if you're dealing with affordable housing? How close is public transportation? So every single asset class has a little bit different scenario. So we have to figure that out. Also, what is the zoning, right? So what is the zoning for? And can we get it upgraded on the zoning or downgraded on the zoning? Not sure. Is there site development or infrastructure that you already have? Is there a road there or not? Is there downgrades, meaning there's wetlands, there's power lines, there's an easement that now the county said, hey, you can't build anything because the power lines are there. Or CVS or CSX, the railroad company, has an easement on your property that you can't do anything about, or there's a burial ground, not talking that you got pissed off at your stepmom, but I'm like, hey, no, like there's Indian burial grounds, or there's endangered species. I've had all this stuff happen to me. So I'm just sharing with you experience. And then that land that did sell, if it meets all this criteria, what did it sell for? What does that look like? Did they sell raw land, or did they sell the approvals and entitlements, meaning they did all the permits and they did everything necessary to actually close on the property, that the land was what they call shovel ready? Then you come up with a value, right? And again, the definition of his appraisal is an opinion of all these various aspects of your land. So I know you're getting something out of this, right? If you are getting something out of this right now, just do me a huge favor. If you're listening to the podcast, or you're listening to YouTube, or you're listening to this as just a short, whatever that is, I would really appreciate it that if you can just like it, share it, leave a comment. What is the top thing you're learning right now, just in the middle of the episode? That would mean the world to me, because this makes the algorithm know that, hey, we're doing something right. This is actually great quality. Or, Franklin, you are messing this up. This is a horrible experience. You need to improve this, and this. I will read that and we will adjust fire, okay? So the other thing is this. What if I wanted to donate or sell land for veteran housing or a community project? No problem at all. Yes, I've done that before. I've had people actually donate properties to us because we are a young company in a sense of I'm 45 years old, so I'm not 83. I've still got some summers left. And we could do things because veterans are very near and dear to my heart, for housing or memorials, or just housing in general is very near and dear to my heart. But development is as well, because what I see in this world, in America, which I'm in, is there's just a lack of transparency and a lack of people that know development, right? There's a lack of the effort to really learn the specialty of real estate development and real estate investing in general. So wherever we can help, yes, you can donate it anytime you want. So avoiding common pitfalls, let's jump into that as well. So when it comes to pitfalls, you could fall basically head first or feet first. But either way, it's a damn pitfall, okay? So how do you avoid it, right? So the first thing is, why shouldn't I sell my home over the phone or without a proper evaluation, right? Hopefully you don't have a phone that size. If you do, Jesus, Lord, you must have your clothing must be tiny. So it's important to meet face to face if somebody's evaluating a property. I just want you to think about it. If somebody that you're talking to over the phone, and let's say they have money, right? Do you really think somebody's going to make an offer on $100 or $200 or $300 or $500,000 offer sight unseen? I'll wait. Hell no. No. What they're doing is, this is how the scam works. They get you over the phone. They're going to tell you a number, any number, to actually get you to sign an agreement without them ever going to the property. This is what I call laziness. And these are what I call scam artist investors. So they are scamming you. They're an artist at it, and they're investors. And they're trained to do it because there's no proper training other than certified true investors that I train specifically under True Investors. We train to meet you face to face. We show them how to actually go through a 50-point evaluation of the actual property to say, okay, now here is after the evaluation, and then we sit down with you and go over the actual appraisal of the property, teaching you how we're coming up with the evaluation minus the cost, even if it's land or homes. These individuals are not doing that. So many buyers, if you're looking over the phone, they're just trying to lock it up. So you always want to make sure that that buyer sees the property. Hey, when are you coming to the property? When are you evaluating the property? Then, if they give you a fair offer that makes sense, great. For us, we always say the same thing. Look, if you call us or if you go to our website right now and you say, Frank, I'm ready to sell my property, man, I'm ready to go. Let's move forward. You know, the first thing I'm saying, look, first, what's the number? What's the number? Because I don't want to waste any time. So if we both agree upon that number, you're willing to sign a contract today. Is that correct? Yes, Franklin, I'm ready to sign a contract today. If that's the number, great. I'll go to the property and we'll see if the numbers make sense. If they don't, I'll tell you why. If they do, we can sign. If I could pay more, I have. I have actually helped individuals. And it was a couple of individuals. The last one was Mr. Barbara Stewart, or Mrs. Barbara Stewart and Mr. Jimmy Stewart. They had a property. He wanted to sell it for $450,000. I looked at the property. He's a former Vietnam vet. Great guy. Is going through a situation. Older gentleman, had cancer. And I just said, sir, I think we could sell this property for $600,000. So instead of me buying the property and making the extra delta or the difference in that profit, what I did is I helped him with the situation, and we just made, I think it was like a $5,000 fee or $8,000 fee. But then he kept $100,000+ more dollars than what he thought he could sell the property for. So every situation is different. You just never know. Okay. So that's what I would do then. Again, if they are only doing a deal over the phone, hang up, scam artists. If they are willing to actually go to the property, evaluate the property, and make you a fair offer, like a man or woman should as an adult, right? Then you guys work out a deal and do it up, right? Okay, next one. What if I receive multiple offers? How do I choose the best one? That's great. It's like finding money underneath the carpet, right? So price is important, and you should always consider that. But my biggest thing that I always look at, and as I get older, I understand this, is the ability to close is huge. So does the buyer have the ability to close quickly without any kind of hidden contingencies or lowering the price? You don't really know, right? So you've got to ask, does this person have credibility? Does this person actually know what they're doing? And if they do, then you want to make sure that that offer is clear and concise and simple. To me, anything past a 3-page contract is too large, and there's so much mumbo jumbo legal stuff that can get you, what I call the gotchas. I don't personally like moving forward with that, right? I want it simple, concise. How much am I actually buying it for? Who's the buyer? Who's the seller? When are we closing? You're buying it for X. No fees involved or fees involved. Who's the title company? What's their phone number? I want to call them up. When, if anything sideways happens, what's that? Due diligence period, any kind of special provisions, just clear and plain language. There's no reason to complicate it. That's it. So that's how I would look at the deal. And if you got multiple offers, again, take the best one that you feel is going to be able to close. You could take the highest one. The only thing is, what if that highest one doesn't close and now you just lost all these other people just because you were wanting more money, but it just didn't work out? Why do some buyers back out? Mistalking here. Why do some buyers back out at the last moment? Well, I look at it as a marriage. Why is it that some marriages don't work, right? Right when they get to the podium and the pastor's there and they're just like, yes, I'm ready to go. And then the woman is like, I'm out. It's like, I'm done. I'm out, and they run for it, right? So you just don't know, right? You have no idea. So they back out. Some buyers don't feel they fully understand the property's needs, right? So some buyers do that. I personally do my best to communicate, and our company is taught to be 100% transparent. Something comes up, we let you know. We just had a situation. They just changed the zoning for getting permits on a roof for manufactured homes in Polk County. So now in Polk County, you have to get, even if it's normal shingles, this is not even a metal roof. In Polk County specific, if you have a manufactured home, you have to get a structural engineer to sign off on the shingles, even if you're buying them from Lowe's, that those shingles can go on that manufactured home. So now more time, more cost for something, to me, is stupid, because shingles are shingles. If they're approved product and they're selling it at Lowe's and it's just approved product, you should be good to go, right? But now that takes extra time and extra costs that I didn't even know. So now I got to bring it up to you. What if the buyer didn't do the proper inspection? Or what if they do an inspection and that inspection turns out, hey, your subfloor is falling apart. So now, because that subfloor is falling apart, we're not going to be able to actually move forward on the deal. That's huge as well. So, or they take their time, they evaluate it, tell you everything up front. Hopefully there's no surprises. Or if there is surprises, they communicate with you. That's how I would do it. All right, so how do I protect myself from contract loopholes? So this is how I look at it. How do you protect yourself? So how you protect yourself is pretty simple. First of all, hopefully you've got somebody like this that is taking care of you, right? So number one, work with a buyer that provides clear terms and a straightforward agreement. We want to ensure that everything is laid out so there's no confusion and there's no hidden fees at all. So that's how I would do it, okay? So next one. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. So can I sell if I'm behind on the mortgage or if I'm in pre-foreclosure? So can you sell? Great question. So you're stressed out, you're behind, you feel like you got this stack of papers on you. You're like, oh my God, it's in pre-foreclosure, or I'm behind on the mortgage. What do I do? Yes, we can help you. Avoid foreclosure. Number one, you just got to be honest. Hey man, I'm behind on my mortgage. This is what's going on. That's fantastic. Let me know. You can go our site, True Fast Offer. You go to that specifically for property sellers. You go over there, type in the information, fill out the little questionnaire, tell us about what's going on, and we'll see what we can work out. Sometimes we can work out something with the lender if the numbers make sense, or if the numbers don't make sense, see what we can work out. I don't know. Every situation's a little bit different. My ultimate goal is that you get the best deal possible and you can make as much money as possible within reason. Because if we're not making money either, it doesn't make any sense. So we all have to create what I call a win-win-win scenario. It's a win for you. It's a win for us. And then it's also going to be a win for whoever we choose to sell the property to or rent the property to. Next one. I'm downsizing. How can I sell quickly while I'm still getting a fair deal? How do I even know that, right? How do I sell quickly and still want to get a fair deal? So when you're downsizing, I've had this a lot, especially in Polk County and other communities. A lot of people are getting older. So they, for myself, I've got a 23-year-old son and a 16-year-old son, right? So my 23-year-old, at the time when I lived in a 5-bedroom, 4-bath home, 4,000 square foot home, that now I do not. When he left, I was like, damn, you got this whole entire section of the house that nobody's there anymore. Why am I in this huge house? And then when life happened and a separation happened, then now I don't have, need for all these rooms. I remember one time for 2 years, I didn't even go upstairs. And I was the movie theater room because I was like, why? And so downsizing is a part of life. You just got to share, be transparent with your situation. Let us know. And then we could see exactly what is the best situation for you. And, can we work out a deal? Does the property need repairs? What's going on? And then we'll take it from there. So also, we will offer you always a fair offer. We're very flexible. Everybody's situation is completely different. If you want to downsize quickly, let us know. And we need to see what is the best deal we could possibly do on the house, because we don't know. We're going to go over the comps. We're going to go over the value. We're going to go over the property needs work. We're going to go over all of it. If you got a piece of land that you need to get rid of or sell, or you're just like, why do I even have this land? This taxes, upkeep, landscaping, this is too much. Doesn't make sense. I need to just move on. Okay, next question. I inherited a property. What's the best way to sell the property? So look, if you inherited the property, now you've got what they call possibly a bloodline, right? So you got brothers, sisters, other relatives that now have this property that you inherited that you got to get rid of, right? So we can help you in the same situation. We deal with this all the time, right? So it means, is your land in good condition? Does it have any kind of studies done with it? What's going on with the home? Is the home in good shape? Does it need repairs? We need to do a walkthrough. We've got to see the property. We've got to evaluate the property. We've got to evaluate the land. And then we can give you a true fast offer because we truly evaluated the property and we know exactly what the value is. And this is what we could potentially do. And here's a real offer, a true offer. And hopefully it's a win-win for everybody. You just got to tell us, what are you looking for? And if you're open-minded with no ego of saying, oh, I just want to make a cajillion dollars. Just like yesterday, I talked to this guy. His land is probably worth $600,000 to $700,000. He said, well, I'm not going to sell it, even though he's going broke right now. I'm not going to sell it for no more than 3.5. I said, good luck, because nobody will ever buy that property, ever, period. It's just not going to happen because the numbers don't make sense, right? So remember, in real estate development, especially with land, there's items that you cannot control. The cost of money, you can't control. The cost of construction, you cannot control. The only thing that we can control to make the numbers work is the cost of land. So if you have the cost of land, then we can make something happen. And that's how you just make it a win-win. That's it. So do you really want to sell it or not? That's up to you. What if my home or land has tenants? What's up with that? Well, if you've got tenants, yes, you could sell a rental property with the tenants. A little bit tricky. We got to read, every municipality is a little bit different. We got to read the tenant. We got to read the tenant, the lease agreement that you have, figure out what's going on in the area. And then, we got to make sure that nobody's disturbed. We got to make sure, is the tenant happy? Do we want to keep the tenant? Are you giving us a redheaded stepchild? We don't know. It's totally different. We have no clue. Every situation's different. You just got to be transparent. What's going on? What's the scenario? And it's got to be a win-win. If it's a win-win, we'll work it out. If it's not so much. So this is the end of the podcast for the top 25 questions, part 1, that sellers ask all the time. So I hope you got something out of this. If you did, again, please leave a comment below, like it, share it. Tell me what question or answer that really stood out for you the most. Where did you get educated on? What was it that kind of came up for you during the scenario that you're like, Franklin, this was awesome. So again, leave that comment. It helps us with the algorithm, push everything forward. I'm brand new at this. We're going to get better through time. I appreciate your patience. Thanks so much for just your time listening, and we'll meet you on the other side. All right, bye.